Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. Thank you, honey. Can everybody say hi to my sweet wife, Robin? Yes. Well, thank you all for being here. I want to thank the Wilcox family and the McAlister family and everyone who's responsible for putting this on tonight. And how y'all like the barbecue? Is it good? Good. I can't wait to eat mine when I get done. Well, you know what? We've been here. Pastor Rodney and Rosemary here. Where are y'all? Pastor Rodney, Rosemary from Hill Country Fellowship. So good to see you. I had an opportunity to preach yesterday at Hill Country Fellowship, and we had a wonderful time there. We had a great lunch today with the realtors. And, you know, my wife and I were talking, and I said, do you think we could find a way to move to the Hill Country? This is truly God's country. And when I was flying from Frisco, Texas, where we live, and I was flying in and I saw the lake that was at capacity. And I saw the houses around the lake, and I saw all the beautiful topography and geography here. I was blown away because it's my first time here. And I didn't even realize that it was this. You don't know that this is Texas. It reminds us of La Jolla, California. Anybody ever been to La Jolla, California? Any Navy guys here? Been to La Jolla, California? Well, but it's not. This is Texas, baby. And it is truly God's country, but it's not because of the beauty here. This is God's country because there are God-fearing people here. And I have been loved on, I've been cared for, I've been prayed for, I've been cried with, I have been hugged on. And let me tell you something. I am so blessed to be here. And as a kid from Richardson, Texas, to come to the Hill Country, to Llano County, Burnet County, Horseshoe Bay, people here from Kingsland, from Fredericksburg, here eating barbecue together, this is very humbling for me. So thank you for being here. Can we give God a big praise? Well, what I wanted to do tonight is I wanted to share a little bit of my history, where I've came from, some of the trials and struggles in my life, some of the mountaintop victories, some of the successes, some of the failures, what God has done in my life, what He's taught me. Because I think when you have people that are running for elected positions, people that are running for servant leadership positions, note I said servant leadership, that it's good that if you know who they are, what makes them up, what's their character like, what have they been through. Because it's easy to hear the biography of someone and look at the culmination of their life, look at the mountaintop of their life, and look where they are, but not know what the seed that has been sown or the roads that have been traversed to see how they got where they are. Is everybody in agreement? So I want to give some history, then tell you where we are now, and share my heart with you where I believe where we should be going. Is that okay? I'm going to read something out of a book that I've been reading. It's by Mark Batterson, and it's called All In. And for those of you who have been with me all weekend, have heard this, God bless you. Thank you for being so faithful to be here and to be with me and to support me. But I think it's important that we all hear this. This is from a man named Mark Batterson, and the name of the book is All In. It says this: on February 19th, 1519, the Spanish explorer Hernan Cortez set sail from Mexico with an entourage of 11 ships, 13 horses, and 110 sailors, and 553 soldiers, a small entourage. The indigenous population upon his arrival was approximately 5 million. From a purely mathematical standpoint, the odds were stacked against him by a ratio of 7,541 to 1. How many of y'all like those kind of ratios against you? 2 previous expeditions had failed to even establish a settlement in the New World, yet Cortez conquered much of the South American continent. What Cortez is reported to have done after landing is an epic tale of mythic proportions. He issued an order that turned his mission into an all or nothing proposition. he yelled out to his troops, "Burn the ships." As his crew watched their fleet of ships burn and sink, they came to terms with the fact that their retreat was not an option. And if you can compartmentalize the moral conundrum of colonization, there is a lesson to be learned for all of us. 9 times out of 10, failure is resorting to plan B when plan A gets too risky, too costly, or too difficult. That's why most people are living their plan B. They didn't burn the ships. Plan A people that are plan A, they don't have a plan B. It's plan A or bust. Anybody know anybody like that? They would rather crash and burn, catch this, they would rather crash and burn going after their God-ordained dreams than succeed at something else. Plan A people don't have a plan B. It's either all or nothing. They would rather crash and burn going after their God-ordained dream than to succeed at something else. There's no retreat in them. There's no going back in them. There's no turning a blind eye or a deaf ear in them. It's all or none. Can I get an amen from anybody? Amen. Just like our country, America, we don't retreat. We don't turn a deaf ear or a blind eye, nor should we. At times, I think that we want to. The conservative movement, they said it's dead. I say it's just now beginning. It's still alive. Yes, it is. Plan A, not plan B, a God-ordained dream. Well, when I was 10, I had a dream. My mother and father, Essie and Eric Turner, we were living in Plano, Texas. And I was standing at the front door with my mother on this side of the threshold, and my father was on that side. And I knew at that point that something was very unusual because my father wasn't coming in. And my dad looked at me and said, "Scott, your mom and I can't get along anymore. Our marriage is failing, and so we're going to get a divorce." I'm a 10-year-old little boy who loves his father, loves his mother, and I saw right before my eyes the ripping or the tearing of, if you will, of my family unit. And a lot of people say, "Well, Scott, that's kind of commonplace in America today." A lot of people have been through divorced family, broken homes, blended homes, this, that, and the other. But for me, it was traumatic. It was a monumental time in my life. And so my father went that way, and I was here with my mom, and I said, "Mama, one day I'm going to play in the NFL." And my mama said, "You know what?" She calls me Pookie. She said, "Pookie, you can do it." She said, "Trust God, put your mind to it, and you can do it." Fast forward. My mother struggled tremendously to take care of me and my infant sister. My parents had adopted a little girl, her name is Erin, and then 2 years later they were divorced. And my mom had not worked in 10 years, so you can imagine the financial strain on her life. And I saw my mom agonizing. I saw her travailing. I saw her crying herself to sleep at night. She didn't think I heard her, but I did. It was hard for her. It was burdensome. Some of you may have been in the same situation. And so as a big boy, as a 13-year-old kid, I looked at my mom and I said, "Mama, I'm going to go live with Daddy to release the burden and the pain on you." And for all of you know, it's hard for a son to leave the nurturing arms of his mama. But I went to go live with the father, my father, who wasn't as nurturing as my mother. Well, I moved in with my dad, went to J.J. Pierce High School in Richardson, Texas. Anybody heard of Richardson before? That's where I grew up, junior high and high school. I played football, I ran track, and I studied hard in high school because I realized that my feet and my athletic talent would only take me so far, but my mind and my brain and my heart would take me further. And so I studied hard, I did good in school, and one day my father showed up at my high school and he said, "Scott, get in the car." And this was very unusual because my father has been working for Miss Baird's Bread, y'all know about Miss Baird, for 35 years to this day. And then we had a janitorial business at night, and so for him to show up at practice, that was very unusual. He said, "Get in the car." I said, "Where are we going?" He said, "I'm taking you to work." I said, "Well, I don't have a job." He said, "You do now." And so he took me to a place called Spring Creek Barbecue, eating barbecue tonight. We walked into Spring Creek, and y'all, we walked in the back door of Spring Creek. And I'm looking to myself, I said, "Man, this is unusual. We don't need to walk through the back. Those days are over. Let's go through the front." Well, the manager came out with 2 plastic robes, the kind you can get wet. He said, "Welcome to Spring Creek Barbecue. You're our new dishwasher." And I looked at him, I said, man, do you know who I am? My name is Scott Turner. I'm the starting running back for J.J. Pierce High School, number 42. I score all the touchdowns. And he looked at me, he said, boy, shut up and put this robe on. And so I did. I didn't have very much humility back then as a 15-year-old kid. And so my father showed me, he said, you have to have a system by which to wash the dishes efficiently and get them clean in time for the lineman to come get them and give them to the customers. I said, okay, that's fine. So he showed me pots and pans, plates, silverware, and glasses. And we went through this whole routine for about 30 minutes. And about 5:30, my father left. I said, I got it. Well, about 6:30, everybody that lived in Richardson plus all their relatives came to Spring Creek. And about 7:30, they all got up and left at one time. And if you've ever worked in the restaurant business, you understand when everybody leaves at once, all the tables are dirty. And so the bus boys are just throwing dishes in the dish room, and they're piling up, and I can't keep up, and I'm panicking, and they're saying all kind of bad things to me, and all kind of bad language, and telling me I'm sorry, and I can't keep up, and you can't even play football, you can't even wash dishes, and so I threw the robe off in panic and disgust. And I called my father, and I said, Daddy, come get me. I'm not washing dishes, I'm a football player. And my father said, you will never quit. Not today and not ever. And boom, hung the phone up in my face. And I'm looking at the phone like, I know he didn't just hang up. Well, he did. But I'm grateful that he did on that day. Because from that day forward until now, I was 15 then, I believe, 16. I'm 42 now. I've never quit anything a day in my life. 2 principles my parents taught me. To have a tremendous faith in the Lord Jesus, and 2, to have a strong work ethic. Those are the 2 principles that my parents taught me, both while they were together and as they were apart. And to this day, I hold them very dear in my heart. Well, I left J.J. Pierce, and I went to a school called University of Illinois in Champaign, Illinois. I ran track, and I played football, and I graduated in speech communications. Track was there for extra credit so I could stay in shape to play football. Football was the ticket. But the first 3 years at Illinois, I couldn't step on the field. They didn't know where to put me because I was just an athlete, but they didn't know what particular position. Now, I'm recruited as a running back, but I'm 5'10". I was 5'9". I'm sorry, my wife is looking at me. I'm 5'9", right? Y'all can measure me when we get done. I'm really 5'10", but anyway, 172 pounds. And if anybody knows anything about the Midwest or Big Ten football, Michigan, Purdue, a lot of the running backs there are not 172 pounds, they're like 220 pounds. And so they didn't know where to put me. Long story short, I couldn't get on the field. And then in my 4th year, we had 5 years because I was on scholarship. My 4th year, I broke my jaw in 2 places and missed another year. So here I am, 1 year left in college football. 10-year-old kid with a dream. Haven't stepped on the field except sporadically and sparingly. Dream looking real dim at this point. I know a lot of y'all are thinking, how did you go to the NFL? Because this don't sound good. Well, Coach Sherman Smith came to me. He was a running backs coach at Illinois. He was also the one who discipled me in the faith as a 19-year-old kid while I was at Illinois. He came to me, he said, Scott, if they come to you with an opportunity to move from offense to defense, you should take it. Now, mind you, I have been running forward all the days of my life. And now they want me to change and to run backwards. But how many times in your life has God taken you out of your comfort zone and caused you to do something that you've never done before? Can I get a witness from anybody in here? He took me out of my box of comfort. He took me out of that for which I had known all of my life, because he could see what I cannot. And he sent this man, 6'3", 225, Sherman Smith, to help me to see what I had never imagined before. So I said, I'll do it. Well, I won the starting position at cornerback. But the first time that I backpedaled in live competition, it was a spring football game. Thousands of students at Illinois standing in the stands, screaming and hollering. And the first time I backpedaled, I fell down and hit the ground. Humiliation at its best. And my teammates and friends are laughing like, what in the world? How are you going to the NFL? You can't even backpedal. Man, you know what you need to do? You need to stop this football and you need to run track. The Olympic trials are next year. Maybe you should do that. People have a very peculiar way of telling you what you ought to do in your life, telling you what your dreams ought to be. Maybe you should get a new dream, a new vision. Don't even talk about that one. Go do something else. Am I the only one in here that's been through that? But I knew what I was supposed to do. As soon as I hit the ground, y'all, I got back up and I kept on backpedaling. I would be there late at night backpedaling. I'd backpedal in the mirror. I'd jump rope backwards and forwards trying to backpedal, teaching myself because I knew this is what I was supposed to do. I didn't have a plan B. It was plan A or bust. Yes, it was difficult. Yes, it was risky. Yes, I was out of my comfort zone. But you know what? I had already burned the ships. It was time. I was going forward before, but now I'm running backwards. Key is, what are you going to do with it? Won a position. Played all year. Had a good season. Started. Got some interceptions. Got some tackles. Right? We had the #1 defense in the country in the NCAA in 1994. And I was a starter. Well, this thing came up called NFL Combine. Y'all ever heard of Combine before? It's in Indianapolis, Indiana. And that's where all the teams, there's 32 NFL teams. Back then there was 30. They bring, I think there was 30. Anyway, they bring, I'm getting old. Anyway, they bring all the projected athletes that are supposed to go to the NFL, they think, to Indianapolis to try them out. There's 1 million college football players. 300 get invited to the Combine. A small number. But here I am, a starter on the #1 defense in the country. I know I'm going to the Combine. I know I'm going to get invited. Well, I would go to class, and I would come home, and I'd look at my mailbox, looking for my invitation. It's not there the first day. That's okay. My buddies started getting theirs trickling in. I would go home, look at my mailbox again every day. Nothing. 1 week. No invitation. Keep looking. 1 week and a half. No invitation. You ever been looking for something and it never came? Another opportunity to throw in the towel. Another opportunity to say, well, maybe there should be a plan B. Maybe I should go try to get some of those ships back. Well, my buddies, 3 or 4 of them got invited to the Combine. I didn't. They left Champaign, Illinois, and they drove to Indianapolis, Indiana. And one in particular, I remember him. He threw me his keys. He said, hey, man, watch my apartment for me while I'm gone. And I'm looking at him like, I want to go to the Combine too. I don't want to watch your apartment. Remember at Spring Creek Barbecue? No humility. Here's a great opportunity. I'm being discipled by Sherman Smith in the faith. Here's a great opportunity to die to myself and to serve my fellow man. I took his keys, and I think there was a couple others, took his keys, and I cleaned his apartment. I got it ready for his parents to come in. I got his homework. I made sure he didn't fall behind. I served him, even though I wanted to be in the truck with him going to Indianapolis. Sometimes the Lord will take something away from you to see if you're going to serve others, help others to be great. Let me say it again. Sometimes the Lord will take something from you that you really want, something that you really want to do, somewhere you really want to be, to undergird and to help others to be great. So I took that opportunity and I served him. Well, Combine was going on. And when I came home, y'all, I didn't look in the mailbox anymore. No invitation was coming. Instead, I put my workout clothes on. Drove over to Memorial Stadium in February in Champaign, Illinois. It's cold. About 14, 25 degrees, somewhere in there. And I would drive over to Memorial Stadium, and I would look at that stadium. I would stand at the bottom and look to the top and say, I'm going to run from here to there as fast as I can. And I would start running, boom, 1 step at a time, 2 at a time, 3 at a time, over and over and over again. All the way to the top and back down to the bottom. One time I was coming down, I couldn't feel my legs, and I slipped on the concrete and metal steps because it was icy. And I rolled down the last tier, head cut, bottom bruised, boom, boom, hit the ground. I said, oh, I've been here before. As soon as I hit, I got back up and took off. All by myself. No coaches calling. No general managers writing me letters, love notes. No NFL team saying, hey, we really love you, we want to have you. Matter of fact, there were people in the suites upstairs looking out. What is he doing? He's crazy. The combine is in Indianapolis. This is Champaign. There's no NFL teams here. Hey, buddy, you need to stop. But I kept running. Well, when the combine got over, my agent, my sports agent, called me. He said, hey, buddy, 22 teams are coming to the University of Illinois to work you out. Because they're coming to get a second look at the guys that were at the combine. They said, you can work out too. I said, fine. So all these teams come in, Washington, San Diego, Oakland, Denver, Jacksonville, Carolina, all this paraphernalia. Man, I'm so excited. And they wanted us to run a 40-yard dash. And all my buddies who were projected draftees, they went before me. And then when my turn came, they said, hey, what's this kid's name? Oh, Turner. Yeah, come on. Like I'm wasting their time. Have you ever felt obscure before? Where people didn't remember your name? Where you had worked just as hard as anybody else, but yet they don't know you. Anybody been there before? Well, here I am. Oh, that's over. I stood on the starting line, and I looked to the finish line. And y'all, I didn't see 22 men. I saw 22 stopwatches. I said, I'm going to get from here to there, Pastor Rodney, as fast as I can. I took off. And when I crossed the finish line, they looked at the watch. They were like, woo! And they said, son. They said, where have you been? I said, man, I looked at my mailbox for 2 weeks. Y'all didn't send my invitation. Well, they looked at the watch. They said, 422, 424, 425, 427. And y'all, that's fast. That's real fast. And I said, man. Well, I was 23 years old when I ran that time. Do you remember how old I was when I was standing on the porch of my mama? 10. How many years is that? 13 years of preparation for 4 seconds changed my life. 13 years of persevering. 13 years of not throwing in the towel. 13 years of saying yes when everybody else was saying no. 13 years of trusting God, staying on my knees before Him, staying in my word and encouraging others and serving others for 4 seconds. And I'm standing before you today. That day my daddy hung up on me. He said, you will never quit. I had many opportunities to throw in the towel. Many opportunities to remember that dream that I told my mama that I had and to bow out and say, well, mama, I'm going to do something else because it's just too difficult. It's just too hard. No, ma'am. Get on the bleachers. Get to running. 13 years for 4 seconds. Well, every time I ran those steps, every step I took, I got stronger physically, stronger mentally, stronger spiritually, stronger emotionally. Some of you in here tonight, you may be facing a situation like that yourself. An insurmountable situation, a memorial stadium, if you will, type situation. Where you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your finances, your business. Maybe your children are wayward. I don't know, but God does. My point to you is get up off the couch of despair. Roll off the bed of anxiety and self-pity. Put your fighting clothes on. Put your feet on the ground. Look that thing in the eye and say, you know what? It may be impossible, but with man, but with God, all things are possible. You can do it. You can do it. Hey, I'm just a dishwasher from Richardson. A janitor. But I'm a living witness of God's grace and mercy. I'm just a kid who's supposed to be a blip on the radar screen. But I had a made-up mind, principles, and convictions. Well, I went upstairs. And all the coaches and secretaries, they're so happy. Makeup running, everybody's crying. We're just rejoicing because they know it's been a struggle. And I'll go and this one coach comes out of his office. Coaches have tremendous influence on the lives of young people, even more influence than their parents at times. And this one coach, the defensive coordinator, came out of his office. The guy who I played for every week. I said, Coach, I ran a 4-2. He said, what is all this noise? Stop all this crying and clapping. What is the deal? I said, Coach, I ran a 4-2. He said, so what? I said, Coach, a 4-2. He said, you're not going to get drafted. You're too small. You only played 1 year. They don't know who you are. I said, Coach, I ran a good time. He said, it doesn't matter. You'll never play in the NFL. So I gathered myself and I looked at him. I said, well, Coach, with all due respect, my faith is not in you. My faith is in God. I said, and number two, I told my mom I was going to the NFL. So I'm going. You tell your mama something, you better keep your word. Ain't that right, mama? Well, April 21st, 1995, North Turner, the head coach of the Redskins at that time, used to be with the Cowboys during all the Super Bowl years, and he went to the Redskins. He called on my phone, but y'all, I didn't hear the phone ring immediately. Robin and I were sitting in my apartment in Champaign, Illinois. And it had been 2 hours since the draft was on TV, now it was on the radio, and I hadn't heard anything. And I look over to the wall, that's when the phone's on the wall. And the phone jack had came out of the wall. And I went over and plugged the jack in, and the phone rang for 2 weeks. I got a phone call from my friend's wife. Hey, congratulations, you got drafted. And I clicked over, it's my father. Why didn't you come? Then I hung up, and it rang again. It's North Turner. Scott Turner. Yes, sir. This is North Turner, head coach of the Washington Redskins. Yes, sir. We've been trying to call you for 2 hours. He said, we drafted you 2 hours ago. Pick number 226. 7th round, 1995 NFL draft. 226 is my birthday. How about that? Well, he said, are you interested in playing for us, son? I said, yes, sir, and boom, hung the phone up in his face. I didn't want him to change his mind. The Lord has been very gracious. As you've heard, there's been a lot of trials and struggles, but we spent 9 years in the NFL. The average career is 3.4 years, and the Lord allowed us to triple that. And the greatest thing about playing in the NFL for Robin Turner and Scott Turner was the ministry that we had with the players, their wives, and their families, and the coaches. To this day, when I get phone calls from guys that I played with in 95, 96, 97, 98, and they call me and say, hey, I remember when you were going through this difficult time, or when I was going through this difficult time, and we prayed together, we got in the Word together, we had fellowship at your home together, and you gave me the scriptures. Romans 4, verse 18 says, hope against hope. He believed in order that he may become the father of many nations, just as had been said unto him. And without wavering in his faith, he trusted God that he was able to do what he said he would do. When I get those calls in 2014, from 1995, 96, 97, 98, it makes it well worth it. It makes it worth persevering, tearing your hamstring up, getting cut, struggling, traveling, leaving your family. And I stand before you today not as a former NFL player, but as a man of God who loves football, was blessed with the gift, and loves people. That's the platform that the Lord gave me. When we retired from the NFL and we came back to Dallas, Robin and I were just citizens. But we saw, too, what was going on in the country, just like you. We saw the lack of leadership. We saw the moral fiber and the degradation, the breakdown of the family unit being torn down, the very things that we stand for in this country. We saw it being challenged every day. And through a lot of prayer, fasting, seeking wise counsel, talking together, Robin said, okay, we have a tremendous platform. The Lord has given you a great voice and influence and experience in life. What are we going to do with it? So going into the Texas House of Representatives was a continuation of service for us, a lifetime of service. But before I ran, it's a new seat. It covers all of Rockwall County and portions of Collin County. It looks kind of like a horseshoe, if you will. Frisco and Rockwall are two totally different places. And in the middle are the rural counties, cities. And people would tell me, oh, no way, buddy. There's no way you can win this seat. Have you seen the map? You're just a football player. You're not a politician. You don't know anything about politics. Oh, I'm saying, man, I have heard all this before. When I looked at the map, I said, these are my kind of people. And I set out. And 45,000 miles later on my truck, we won. And I'm so grateful for that. Being in the House of Representatives has been a wonderful blessing for us. It's very humbling. It's a great challenge. It's hard on your family, but it's worth it. 26 million people in this state make it worth it. And during my time in the Texas House of Representatives, I learned a lot. It doesn't take long to learn if you have some sort of discernment. I had to pray a lot while I was on the House floor so I could really see what's going on behind the smoke and mirrors and behind the games and behind all the factions and everything that was going on. I said, Lord, open my eyes to see really what's happening here. Because I'm not one to waste time. I don't want to just do something to do it. Robin and I have been blessed in business. Software company. We have a custom clothing company called Statesman's Clothing. Don't we need more statesmen in our country today? We have a consulting company. And we have a 13-year-old nephew who's in the most formidable stages of his life that need his daddy. I'm the only father that he knows. He's the only son that I know. He's been life-changing. By the way, we got him when he was 8. He's 13 now. We had a ready-made kid. Number one blessing in my life. So I'm not wasting time. And so while I was there, I heard the cries for leadership. I fought the uphill battles to pass conservative legislation that the people of Texas wanted. There's 3 factions in the House. There's Democrats, liberal Republicans, conservative Republicans. Those are the 3 factions that are in the Texas House right now. Texas is the best place to raise a family. Number 1 in job creation, number 1 in job growth, number 1 in energy exportation. And all of those things are good. And all of those things are great. We have a low tax base, we have a fair regulatory environment, and all those things are great. But we're not number 1 in educating our children. We're not number 1 in tax relief for our citizens or for small business. We're not number 1 in that. We're not number 1 in right on crime. How about that? And so my point is, during that time, I began to pray and seek God and seek wise counsel and fast. My wife and I fasted for 40 days. And I filed to run for Speaker of the House. Because, see, the Speaker is the leader of the House as far as legislation, setting committees, chairman over committees. The Speaker, to me, should be the chief servant of the House, undergirding the members, whereby they can serve their constituency. Imagine an environment in politics, in the Texas House, the number 1 state in the country, with a $200 billion budget, 9th largest in the world, an environment where the Speaker is the chief servant, undergirding his members, whereby they know they could be the best they could be for their constituents. See, right now, we've built this imperialistic kingdom where the people work for the representatives. We've done that locally, we've done that statewide, and we've done that nationally. And to me, we need to turn it upside down on its head, where the representatives work for the people. That's what we need. Do y'all remember Washington 10 years ago? We had the House, the Senate, and the White House. And there was nothing monumental that came out of Washington. Well, it's a new season in Texas. We've seen all the statewide positions. There's a changing of the guard going on. When was the last time that every statewide position in Texas was open? It's been over a decade. And the people of Texas are speaking in a loud way of what kind of leadership they want in the state. A changing of the guard, if you will, a new season. It's a new day. We have a great opportunity to do some monumental things for the posterity of our state. 300,000 kids, for instance, education reform. We have 300,000 kids in our state that are in school districts that are underperforming or that underserve them, if you will. And there's probably more now. And they have to go to these schools because of their zip code, because of where they live. But if you really go down and you dig down into it and you go into the neighborhoods and you see these kids and you meet them, which I have, they have the mental capacity to change the world. There is a lot of Scotty Turners in these neighborhoods and in these schools that are stuck because they don't have the opportunity to get out and thrive and to flourish. I believe that parents and children ought to have the opportunity to choose the best institution, education institution, whereby their child can fulfill their full capacity. We talk about a skilled and labored workforce in Texas. Well, the skilled and labored workforce that we have now, at some point, is going to sit down. The key is, what do we do with the ones that are coming up who will create the businesses and take the jobs? The baton of leadership is going to have to be passed down someday. And if we ignore the next generation and how we educate them, and how we prepare them, and how we give them opportunities to fulfill their potential, then the skilled and labor workforce that we're talking about would just be a message, but we will have no messengers to carry it out. How about the margins tax? The convoluted income tax on business is crippling small business like ours, our software company, research and development, recruiting. The margins tax causes you to pay an income tax on your revenue, 1% of your revenue, whether you're profitable or not. Did y'all know that? How many of y'all like the margins tax, by the way? I had a bill last session to phase out and to repeal the margins tax over a 4-year period. That bill never came out of committee until the last week of session. Therefore, it couldn't get on calendar, and therefore it could not get on the floor to be debated. Speaker sets the chairman for the committees. The chairman set the calendar for which bills will be heard and come out of committee. Then the chairman of calendars sets which bills will come on the floor. Are y'all following me? The speaker position is a very important position. Margins tax, the people in Texas, high percentage of people say, get rid of this thing. All the business people I talk to, get rid of this thing. Well, I did the best I can, but if it gets caught up in committee, there's nothing I can do. What do you have to do? You have to change the head. Where the head leads, the body will follow. Does everybody agree? Yes. Constitutional spending limits on the budget. $200 billion budget, I voted against it because I thought it was bad stewardship. We had 3 priorities last session: water, transportation, education. We had an influx or an increase, if you will, of cash, billions, $8 to $10 billion. But we only funded one of our priorities out of general revenue, which is like your checking account. And then we circumvented the process and used money out of our savings account to fund one of our priorities. And the next one will come vote September 1, which is transportation funding. As a businessman, as a husband, a father, a private citizen, I believe good stewardship is very important. How many of you, if you have money in your checking account and you have priorities, would fund your priorities out of your savings account and not out of your checking account? This is kitchen talk. This is not rocket science. Well, I believe as servant leaders, we have to be good stewards over taxpayer dollars. That's our job. Yes, we have to balance the budget, but I believe the budget has to be balanced under good stewardship, would you not? So those are some of the things that I'm interested in doing. Pro-life, the protection of the unborn, being an advocate of those who cannot speak for themselves. I am a pro-life Christian conservative Republican. I am a fiscally. Let's go. And you know what? There's no shame to that. Jeremiah says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. It's very simple. God has a plan and a destiny for every life, whether it be in the womb or out of the womb. And it's our job as servant leaders to protect them. Yes, it is. We had legislation last session. In the regular session, the HB2, the big bill that was passed, it could have been done in a regular session, but it wasn't. The governor had to call a special session to pass the pro-life bill. Did y'all see Wendy Davis and all this stuff that was online in the news? Did y'all see that? The people, the protesters that came down in the orange shirts, did y'all see that on the news? I've been in the ministry a long time and I've been around for a little while. I have never seen a spiritual warfare like this in the rotunda of the Capitol, hell and Satan, protesting against the unborn. This is Texas. Well, when you have the right leadership, who have a moral compass, statesmen who have a moral compass, who have rock-solid principles, who have a vision, and who can build a consensus in order to get the vision of the people passed, those type of things will not happen. That's where we are in Texas. It's time. The changing of the guard is right now. One of my buddies sent me a text message, and I want to read it to you. Y'all heard of this battleground Texas and turn Texas blue? It's real. Don't think that it's not real, and please do not take it for granted. We have got to get the people out to vote. Y'all, in Texas, primary turnout voting is horrible. I'm just going to tell you. It is low. It's deplorable. There is no reason why we should not have people who are registered to vote, who care about this state and care about this country, not going to the polls. If you don't have a ride, call somebody. I'll come way to the hill country and take you to the polls. That's how important it is. Democratic convention that just happened this last week. Here's from the platform, 2014 Texas Democrat platform. Quote, "The product of a joined egg and sperm has no independent status, standing, entitlements, or rights." The product of a joined egg and sperm has no independent status, standing, entitlements, or rights. I believe life begins at conception. And they do have rights. They do have status. And they do have protection. But I read this so you understand. It's a real battle going on in Texas. It's not just at the federal level, it's here. And it's time for true soldiers, true statesmen to step up and to step out. Time for lethargy and apathy is over. But it's going to take a lot of courage. Running for Speaker of the House is not easy. The establishment is well rooted. They're vulnerable right now because they've lost some. But a lot of people say, well, it's too hard to unseat a sitting speaker. Well, if you've heard my story, I have fought uphill battles all my life. And when I wake up in the morning, y'all, the first thing I hear is 26.2 million. That's the number of people in Texas. Now I believe it's almost 28 million. That's why I'm doing it. It's worth it. We've had speakers races in the past, the last 4 or 5 years. But what I want to tell you, this time, we will finish. We're going to take this to the floor for a vote for the people. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go. And I'm going to sit down and leave y'all alone. And I know I've talked a long time, but I wanted you to hear my heart. I have traveled all around Texas, meeting with members, speaking to different groups, sharing with people. I leave my family. Sometimes I get to bring Robin with me, but she doesn't leave Solomon very often. She wants to stay home with that baby. But anyway, it's a hard deal to do. But I want to let you know it's not burdensome. Because it's time. The Lord is shaking the very foundations of the Texas House. The key is the people are speaking. But the question is, will we listen? We're all represented by someone. 150 members in the Texas House. We work for you. You don't work for us. There is a paradigm shift coming. I'm telling you, because it's time. Encourage your members. Pray for them. Support them as they do the right thing. And if you really want to see true transformation come in Texas and America, we're going to have statesmen. And we're going to have servant leaders. And the way that we're going to get them is by people like you to support us, to encourage us, and to vote the right ones in. I'm encouraged by the support I've received around the state. And I know that on that day, we're all going to have an opportunity to push our button and to vote for the leader of the House. And it's going to be liberated. No more smoke and mirrors. Status quo will be done. Complacency will be broken. And everybody will understand it's time now to work for the people of Texas. We have the opportunity to do monumental things for the posterity of our state going forward. I named just a few of them for you. And I believe it's going to happen. We can set the standard in America, because all eyes in America are on Texas, by the way. As Texas goes, yes, ma'am. As Texas goes, so goes America. In order for Texas to be the best it can be, we're going to have to be the best we can be. And in order for America to be the best it can be, Texas is going to lead the way. We lose Texas, we lose America. But I'm here to tell you, we're not going to lose. There is no plan B, by the way. This is plan A. God bless you. Thank you. Amen. I know I talked for a long time. God bless you for your support. If anybody has any questions for me, feel free to ask me. I'll answer them. I want to be sensitive to your time. And I told you, I'm trying to run an efficient business and house. And I know I talked for long, but if you have a question, we could take a couple questions right quick. If anybody has one. Yes, sir. I got him, and then I'm going to come to you. Yes, sir.
Give me an example of how you would go about picking a committee chairman for, I don't know, transportation, education. Just pick one. Tell me what would you look for. What would be your process for coming up with chairmen for committees?
Okay, good. And we have to be careful about that. According to the statute, I can't talk about committee chairman legally. But what I can tell you is there are a lot of talented people in the Texas House. There's people who have experience in transportation. Being a part of teams all my life, everybody has their gift. Everybody has, I couldn't play linebacker. Even though I had the mentality to play it, I'm too small, right? I'm a defensive back. But we had people that were talented in a position that made up the team. What I'm looking for is people, number one, that have rock solid principles. Number two, people that have experience in that particular area. Number three, people that are willing to die to themselves and work for the team. And number four, people that listen to their constituents. And people that have vision for the long term. Because I believe in order for Texas to be right, you have to put people in the right place with the right expertise, with the right job, and the right heart to do the best job. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you.
What can we do to help you other than trying to influence our...
Oh, yes. Miss Donna, can y'all hand those cards out for me? I forgot all about those cards. They're on the table. Can we get a few volunteers? Can y'all hand those out to everyone? Thank you, sir, for my staff would have just hurt me real bad if I didn't. Thank you for doing that for me. I'm going to pass some cards out to you all. If you want to get involved, and it'll show you on the card what you can do. Number one, pray for myself, my family, and my team. Number two, on this card, you can write an encouraging note to your representative, and we'll mail it to them when the time comes. Number three, if you want to donate to our campaign, that is also welcome. No gift is too large or too small. I have one lady in Collin County that gave me $1 and a prayer note. She said, all I could give you is $1, but I could pray for you every day. And that was the sweetest gift that I've received. So if you want to do that, that's also how you can get involved. And are y'all passing the cards out? Okay. Okay. We're going to pass them out to your table. Yes, sir. Yeah, you know, I've talked to a lot of representatives, and she told me that, and we have a great relationship, we have a great friendship, but she told me that as of now, she's going to be supporting the speaker. But she will be watching to see how things turn out, and that if I win, that she will support me. I'm going to revisit her, and I encourage you to encourage her as well, because she is a talented woman. And she brings a lot to the table, but her mind right now is not on our team, and I'm hoping to get her real soon. But you all can help by encouraging her. Hey, we're supporting Scott, and we encourage you to support him too. So that would be a great help. That's Representative Farney from this area. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Yes?
I know it's a huge question right now. but it's one that's really concerning Texans especially. What about, where do you stand with the kids coming across the border?
Okay, the kids coming across the border. I was down at the border 2 months ago. My team and I went down there because we had heard what was going on. And I wanted to see it face to face for myself. And so I took a helicopter tour of the Rio Grande Valley, and then I got on the gunboat, the DPS gunboat, and I went on the river. And the first thing they told me when I got on that boat, safety training, ballistic shields in front of 830 caliber machine guns. They said, Scott, this is the real deal. And I said, I'm ready to go. Give me my vest and let's go. I want to see this for myself. And so we went on a tour of the Rio Grande Valley, and I saw the scouts standing on the riverside with cell phones calling upriver. They're coming. Wait, hide. I saw the hideout houses, the safe houses that they call them. 59,000 pounds of marijuana and almost that much of narcotics, and now methamphetamine. But the real tragedy is human trafficking, sex trafficking, home invasions, and our DPS officers chasing criminals and being killed, fatally killed on the job. Now we have a message from the federal government to people in Central America. Come to America and we'll take care of you. 50,000 undocumented kids since October coming to America, crossing our border. The federal administration, up until now, wanted no parts of protecting the border in Texas. So all the children that are coming across, they're holding them in these 6x9, 7x10 holding cells, cages, if you will. And if you read Governor Perry's letter, there's some in there that are crying because they're chained up. Is this what you came to America for? You left your country to come here to be in a holding cell with infectious diseases that we have never seen. We have DPS officers changing diapers of children. Well, when they're changing the diapers of the children, guess where they're not? They're not on the border apprehending people. So the drug cartel loves it. It's all a strategy. This is not just a random thing that's happening. And so that's why we took steps. I wish we had taken them quicker, but we took steps to put a surge down on the border. We had an operation called Operation Strong Safety. And it was a 21-day operation that proved that with the resources, people, aircraft, boats, finances, that we could literally curtail people coming across the border. And so that's the operation that's going on now until the end of the year. But the key is we have to have comprehensive change. And if you saw today, Obama is putting a directive out to do something on the border. I haven't seen all the rhetoric on it. But listen, this is Texas. Texas is going to take care of Texas. And that's our job, to take care of Texas. Yes, sir.
I understand that the letter that the governor and the lieutenant governor sent out and Joe Strauss signed was actually ready to go over a month ago.
Right.
And for whatever reason, the speaker wouldn't sign it.
Yes, sir.
Do you know why that is?
No, but it's factual.
Yeah.
The governor and the lieutenant governor signed a letter over 90 days ago to implement a surge, if you will, on the border. And for whatever reason, no one knows why. I could speculate, but I don't know why factually. The speaker didn't want to sign on. So many of us, myself included, start pressuring him. Listen, this is not about politics. This is about people. This is a safety issue. It's a humanitarian issue. It's a resource issue. This is a life issue. This is not about politics. So he signed it. And I don't know why the delay is, but one thing I can tell you, if I would have had the authority when I went down there, I would have signed that long time ago because it was time. So yes, that's factual. I don't know why he didn't.
Llano County and the counties west of here are about to have a new representative. And
Andrew Murr.
Yes, have you reached out to him?
I have.
His temperature on it?
Yeah, we've been emailing each other back and forth. He went on vacation, you know, much needed after his campaign. And then I was on vacation, but we've been emailing back and forth. But yes, ma'am, we are going to get together. And I hope that and I'm encouraged that he will do the right thing and be on our team. And those of you who are from Llano County, feel free, to email him and call him and encourage him. And when you do this, even if people like Miss Farney, who said that she's not with us right now, when she starts to hear the encouragement from her constituents, you just never know how you're going to change their mind. Because remember, we work for you. And so I get calls and emails and text messages from constituents all the time. That's my job, is to listen. So thank you for did everybody get a card? So with that card, if you fill that card out, and you can leave it with me and I can take it back to my staff, that way it'll save you a stamp that you don't have to send it back to us. If you want to do that, that's fine, but if you want to fill it out now, I'll take it. Yes, sir. How do I feel about the legalization of marijuana? I'm totally against it. Yes, I'm against it. Yeah. Yes. How do I stop it from coming into Texas? Oh, because we have to vote on legislation like that. See, the number one power that a legislator has, this is a good civics lesson for you. The number one power we have is our vote. And so I either vote yes or vote no. And if that bill ever comes across my desk, which it's not, but if it did, my vote is no today and forever. That's it. That's how you stop it. You vote against it. That makes sense to you? Thank y'all. God bless you. I appreciate you, okay?
Thanks, Scott.
Yes, sir.